everyone, this is the sixth episode in Talk with Studentpreneurs. I am Umar Masood और आज हम बात करेंगे सानिया से, who is a student of Delhi University and she has been involved in a lot of activities. She is also the co-founding member of Kavach, which is an edu management consulting firm. So today we will learn how a personal problem can be turned into a beautiful business solution. So let's hear the story from her. So hi Sanya, welcome to the channel of Entreprudents. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me here, firstly. And I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. So, guys, Sanya is an undergrad from Hansraj College, DU, and she has a variety of experience from entrepreneurship, starting up to content writing, management, and much beyond that. So, Sanya, you have been a founding member of the startup called Kavach, which is an edu management consulting startup. So, tell us all about it and what has been your journey so far.
All right, sure. Firstly, thank you for introducing me. And as you mentioned, I'm the co-founder of Coverage, which is an edu management and consulting startup for high school students, where we provide them personalized, customized mentorship, which has been missing from so long, which does not cater to the needs of the students. So that's what we basically do. That's what it is about. And the journey so far has been pretty amazing, to say the least. It has been a journey of ups and downs, majorly ups though. We've completed 6 months as well, like recently. So that's about it. And we started in the month of August, and now here we are doing pretty great, I believe.
That's wonderful. So, how did you find your team members and your co-founding members? How did you come across them?
All right. So the person I founded it with is initially was a friend itself, and the other two co-founding members I met them through him. So because of Zoom calls and everything, we got along each other, got into the ideation phase initially, and were ideating on the services that we would be providing, how we would be starting up. So that's how we started. And I guess thanks to the pandemic, where we could easily have Zoom calls, which could make it happen initially.
That's great. So, I would like to ask, while you were ideating this your product, is this like was this your personal problem that you faced, like the students not getting the proper mentorship and all? So, how did you decide that this is a real problem and we should solve it?
Right. So initially, we all started because we all believed in the fact that we could have used this guidance if we were given it. Like if there was an organization like this a year back, we would have for sure been signed up, and we would have receiving personalized the right guidance from mentors, college students and educationists, like literally all around the country. So if I was given the chance to have such guidance, I would have taken it, and that's what I felt was missing in my journey as well. Although if I do compare it to other people, it was much more sorted. But in my own journey, what I faced difficulty was that after I gave the entrances and everything, I realized that after I got into the colleges, I did not know what to prioritize, what college could be the best fit for me. And again, I think who wouldn't want some tips to crack board examinations from actually cracking entrances. That's how we formed our product initially, and we all agreed with the fact that this guidance has been missing from so long, and that's exactly why I covered.
That's great. So, whenever you're trying to solve a personal problem, that becomes more of your like it becomes much more important to you. So, you will also put more efforts, and you will also try to find the best solution for it. And talking about finding the best solutions, and also, were there any mentors who guided you during this journey?
Yes, for sure. Initially, we were in talks with a few professionals from the industry itself. You know how in the ideation phase, you find a lot of loopholes when you're actually forming the product and thinking what would cater the best to the needs of the students and basically your particular target market. So initially, we were in talks with such people who guided us initially, and we got some good guidance. And along our way, I was happy to connect with a few, mentors through my own connections in personal life, and also on LinkedIn, where there were a lot of people who could help me, and there were a lot of startup mentors who could guide me on little stuff. So that's how we have been moving forward till now. So yeah, we did actually receive mentorship on our own as well.
That's great. That's great. So, also in this journey of yours, were Did you ever face any like financial requirements, or you had to put money from your side to do something or the other?
Generally, startups, they, of course, funding and financial management totally depends on what kind of a startup you are planning to run or you are running. So in our case, no, there wasn't any big investment or funding required. So we just actually, honestly, we just had very little investment from each of the founding member, and I think that was pretty fine when we were, ideating, and we did not have a lot of costs while we were in our ideation phase. When we started, of course, initially you have your marketing requirements, so you spend on that. So I think initially we were bootstrapped, where we were at this point that if we are getting any registrations, we are covering it, we are incurring expenses as well. But as we move forward, there comes a stage when you're no longer bootstrapped and you're having your own profits. So in my journey, and when we're talking about coverage as a startup, I don't think we actually faced any problems related to funding or financial management.
Yeah, and like also related to this, while while you are a student, you are starting up something. So does your college help you and supports you in this endeavor, or is there any kind of support from the college facilities as well?
I won't say there's a direct support from the college. I think there would have been if we were on campus, but considering the pandemic where we are not in direct touch with the teachers and the administration, no, not such direct support from the college, but you know how there are college societies, like we have entrepreneurial set. So then that helps you in a lot of ways from getting guidance. You conduct speaker sessions, you connect with a lot of industry professionals who are happy to help you when they get to know that a team member has started something of their own. So I think that was one way of getting support from college societies rather than college itself.
Yeah, so talking about college, so you have been involved in doing your startups and entrepreneurship work. So did it affect your academics and your coursework?
I would say it's difficult when you're starting up something of your own, and as you mentioned, that it becomes something important if it's a personal problem, right? So I think that's what happened where I initially was being very packed up with my schedule, and I couldn't figure out a midpoint where I could balance my academics and starting and running an entire startup. Because when it comes to that, you have to manage your own team, you have to make goals for yourself, and again, so with all of that, putting your academics first is really tough, and I did personally face that for a few months. But at this point, I think I'm able to figure out, and I think it's just time management over a period of time when you realize that you need to prioritize certain things at some point of life. So I think that's about it. But it's not the easiest task, but you need to find your own midpoint where you can focus on both and not, give up on one thing.
Yeah, so like as you said, it's not an easy task. So would you like to throw some light on the fact that entrepreneurship is often fantasized and the reality is much different from it? It's actually very exhaustive and hectic for many. So what are your thoughts about this?
Right, I agree how a lot of people fantasize entrepreneurship as a concept. Of course, everyone would like to start something of their own, but it's not the easiest task, as I mentioned. You need to prioritize it because that's how most of the startups fail, right? And that's how it always takes longer to, make it big because you're not able to give it as much as time you would. For a person who would be giving full time to their startup or business, it's way easier. Like, but for a student like me, it's very difficult to cope up things like academics, college societies, and all of that. You have your exams, so for those certain days, you're not able to give it time to your startup. So how do you expect it to grow? So again, that's exactly why you need to properly give it time. It's exhaustive. There would be days when you think that your idea does not make sense and it's not actually serving the whole purpose. So there are days like that when I have had days when I would want to give up and I'd be like, oh, this is really tough. I can't do it. So it's really exhaustive. And people do fantasize it that, oh, it would be so great to have something of my own. But it's not the easiest task if you're really wanting to put in the effort. I think you can do it, but a lot of people do fantasize it, and that's something I agree to.
Exactly, that's very true. So, talking about difficulties, like you are from a non-technical background, so has that thing ever been a disadvantage to you while you were starting up?
Somewhat, I would say. Initially, you do not have all the technical people in the team when you're ideating. So you're dependent on a few other people. You're trying to bring in people in the team who could possibly be good assets. So that was one small problem I would say we did face while starting up, that we would want technical people in the team so you can depend on them. Because me, as you already mentioned, not being not from that background, uh, I can't analyze everything, and you can maximum do courses and everything, but for a person who already has experience in it, or will obviously do it that better. So I think you just have to be dependent on people who you can rely on. That's what helped us sail through and is helping us right now.
That's a very great thing, to find someone you can depend on. That has been working
Right,
for you, so that's very great. So
right.
we have been talking a lot about startups and business. So who do you look up to in our country as the eminent entrepreneurs from where you learn and seek guidance?
Uh, I'll be honest and blatant here. I don't seek my inspiration from people who've been doing great, because they have their own personal fields. There's something different that they're doing. That's exactly how Coverage as a startup would, stand out. So I think I personally believe that it's not what I do, that I don't compare it to other, entrepreneurs and other businesses. How would that be? Why isn't it at that stage yet? Because things are different. I mean, my journey as a whole is different, and me seeking inspiration from someone who can fully devote their time, and me not being able to do that while being in college, I think comparing it doesn't do justice. And the fact that everyone has their own pace. The startup is totally different, and it's not something I see one big company already running in that phase. Of course, there are different USPs, right? So I think I don't seek my inspiration from people who have already been doing well in the same industry. I seek my inspiration from people who have been just not giving up and have been committing no matter what their background is. So I think that's it.
That's true. That's true. And also, you have been working with other startups as well, like Metvi. You have worked there. So, how does working in a startup grow you as a person? What is the learning curve while you are working for a startup?
You do not restrict yourself to one particular domain. So when you're starting up, and when it's a startup, when it's in its initial years, and it's still trying to make its name in the industry and in the country, uh, you're not restricted to your own domain. You always have to step up, take initiatives, and there would be days when you'd have to work more of different domains as well, just to get the things done, because it isn't Microsoft where everyone would have their own departments and their own particular job role that they won't even exceed. But in startups, I believe you get the opportunity to learn a lot about a lot of different areas, and the atmosphere is as such where you want to grow. And if you have the right mentors there and the right people guiding you, I think working with startups helps you a lot that way. And it has personally helped me as well, for a fact.
That's wonderful. So, in the end, I would like to ask this question. What would you advise to other students who are looking to enter into entrepreneurship? So, what advice would you give? Any golden tip from your side? Something?
Right, as you mentioned, people fantasize it. Don't just do it because you want to start something of your own, is what I would say. uh, Try to find a problem which you can relate to, because I think that's what I have seen has helped me work for it on days when I want to give up. So because it's not just for 2 or 3 months, right? If you're planning to start something, you of course look at it as something that you want to keep working on at least for a few years. So make sure you do not have days where you want to completely give up, and one day you just take the decision of giving it up completely, even after working on it and for it for a while. So if it's a problem which you relate to, and a problem that you faced or something of that sort, I think you have that in you where you want to find the solution and help people. So if that's the case, then 100% go for it, but don't just fantasize it. Uh, and just a few advices that it's not going to be the easiest. It takes a lot of time. Things don't happen overnight. So I think just a few things like these, that don't just do it because it seems fancy and it seems too good. Because I mean, it has its own struggles. It's way too good if you get into it completely and commit to it. but be ready for losing every day as well. Because that's what happens. You would set high targets, but you won't be able to achieve them every day. So I think that would be all from my side as tips and advices.
Yeah, exactly. That are some very like real tips that need to be taken care of, and you cannot mess with that.
Right, 100%.
Yeah, so I guess this should be the end of our podcast, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a delight. Thank you.
That was our episode with Sanya and her journey with Kavach. I hope you have learned a lot from this episode. सारे links description में हैं, do check them out and also be a part of our community where we will help you learn from such inspirational experiences. Apart from that, हम आपको provide करवाएंगे सारे resources, guidance, event updates, news, etc. So till then, like, share and subscribe this video and I'll see you soon.